As a lot of you know, Del Toro is like my favorite director in the whole wide world, that if he has a movie coming out, I will go see it, no matter what it's about, even if I know it's probably gonna scare the crap out of me. So Crimson Peak happened.
And she had to go see it.
I had to go see it, and it didn't scare the crap out of me.
I think it's because it was billed as a horror film when they were making the trailers, but Del Toro was like, it's not a horror film.
Gothic romance, guys. Straight up gothic romance. And holy crap, is it beautiful.
Oh my god, if this doesn't win an Oscar for like cinematography or like set and costume design, I'm gonna be so pissed.
I mean, and it's not like it's unexpected, because if you look at every single one of this man's movies, he made like Pacific Rim beautiful. Like just his use of color and just shape, and so Crimson Peak is just like friggin' gorgeous. And I was sitting there watching the movie. I've had to see it twice. Because the first time I watched it, and the second time I watched it, I was just like drooling all over the set pieces. Because it's beautiful. I just like little details, like the different color used in like, at the beginning of the movie when they're in the States, versus the colors used in England. In the States, it's like supposed to look like old photographs, and so it's a lot of yellows and brown tones, and then in England, it's like reds and darks and greens and blues. Oh my god!
This story, basically what happens is this girl, she can kind of see ghosts sometimes when they want to like appear to her. And so she's growing up, her mother died. Her mother gives her a warning a long, long ago.
Beware of Crimson Peak.
So, you know, she grows up and she's independent, sort of, like, you know, she's buddy-buddy with her father and she wants to be a writer. And she runs into Tom Hiddleston. And, you know, she starts to fall in love with Tom Hiddleston. And he has this sister who's very severe. And, you know, she falls in love with Tom Hiddleston. Her father ends up getting murdered. Tom Hiddleston asks her to marry him. And off they go to his England house, which is
Allerdale Hall.
And it's falling down and it's a wreck. There's a giant hole in the roof right in the middle.
Symbolism! Symbolism! The first time I saw this movie, I was a little bit worried because, yes, it's deep, but it's nowhere as deep as Pan's Labyrinth. And then when I actually started to think about stuff, it got really intense.
There are ghosts running around and, you know, they're very creepy ghosts. But, you know, they seem to have a purpose. And you're not exactly sure what's going on.
It's not a ghost movie. It's a movie with ghosts in it.
Yes.
And it's kind of like ghosts, they stay in certain places, and Tom Hiddleston, he has this speech about how like this house has been here for hundreds of years and it begins to hold on to things that it should let go of, and so the ghosts are like echoes of the past.
Yeah.
And so Edith or however you want to pronounce it has to figure out what the secret is
to get things moving again. So Tom Hiddleston is starting to actually fall in love with Edith because it's kind of implied that, you know, he's not really in love with her, he just wants something from her. But, you know, he catches himself every once in a while being like, you're so different and blah, 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 blah. And, like, so he's starting to fall in love with her and she's already in love with him.
The sister, though. She stole the movie. She stole the movie for me. She's like so like very like, you know, her hair is very tight and she's very poised and she's just creepy as fuck. You can tell there's something off about their relationship between her and her brother. Like, you know, right at, like, the twist isn't that secret. Like, it's pretty easy to call. Like, I kind of guessed it from the movie posters on the bus. Yeah,
you're just like, oh.
Okay,
they're
so
totally banging.
This is an incest thing. Like,
not even shocked.
No. So what Tom Hiddleston and his sister have been doing is, because they are out of money and they are trying to mine the clay under their house, so they've been going and they've been trying to collect money, and to do this, they have been marrying Tom Hiddleston off to random rich lonely ladies, bringing them back to their house, and slowly poisoning them so they get their money. Yeah, pretty solid.
Basically, that's it. There's a point when Edith realizes what's going on and it's her trying to escape. But eventually, you know, it boils down to the point where Tom either has to choose her or his sister, and he chooses Edith.
But he still can't let his sister go. That was my favorite part.
that was his giant
Oh my god, because so it's all about, you know, Tom Hiddleston lives in the past. and he needs to work, like, he needs to let go of the past to move forward in the future, and yada fucking yada. And so he finally approaches his sister, and he's like, no, we have to stop doing this. We can't do this anymore. We can leave. We don't have to, like, we can leave this house. We can leave the sharp name. It's over. We can all be together, happy.
And she's like, we.
We, all of us. It's like, Tom, no, you fool. No!
You know she's crazy.
This is something I've noticed. Del Toro is really obsessed with head wounds. Like, really obsessed with head wounds. And this is something that goes back to Pan's Labyrinth, because if you look at, in Pan's Labyrinth, the captain beats the guy to death with the bottle on his face, and then the captain gets shot through the face.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and then they, like, don't they carve us? No, he doesn't get shot, does he?
He gets at the end.
Takes a knife.
At the end, the captain gets shot in the face by the housemaid.
I feel like
he takes a knife. She takes a knife to his face too.
Yes, that's
she does
what
that
I remember.
before she escapes. And then in Crimson Peak, the father gets murdered by having his face smashed in on the ground. Tom Hiddleston gets murdered by being stabbed repetitively and then stabbed through the face. And the sister gets murdered by a shovel to the head.
And then Edith also gets cut on her face, too.
Yeah. And I don't know if this is like a brain thing, like, you know, like...
Brain stuff.
You
I
know.
don't know.
But
you'd have to really look into that.
Yeah, it's something that I want to look into because it's crazy, and it's just this reoccurring thing that I've seen, and I really want to rewatch Pacific Rim to see if this is, like...
If it goes there, too.
The only one I can think of off the top of my head is when Idris Elba is, he's bleeding. Like, he's sick.
Edith figures out the plot about the wives, and she runs through the house, and, you know, she's being chased by the sister, and she scared me. Like, just her screams of rage were just like, shit,
yeah,
run.
You were, like, having a rough time in the theater there. You were, like, you were talking to the characters under your breath. You're like, don't do that. Like, it's intense.
I get that from my mother, though, because my mother will always be like, no, hit her and keep hitting her until she's never getting up again. Like, you don't just hit her once. You just beat the shit out of her.
Another thing I liked was, so Edith has this, had a romantic interest who left to go overseas before the movie starts. And he comes back and, you know, he's trying to pick up the romance, but she's different now, like, you know, whatever.
I don't know. Was he really trying to pick... When did he have time?
Well, like, it was in the one conversation where he's like, where he's showing her the pictures, and he's just like, she's like, oh, I didn't know you were interested in this. And he's like, oh, well, you know, you don't let me talk about it. So
that was at the beginning.
That was at the very beginning. Edith goes off, marries Tom Hiddleston. For former boyfriend, whatever romantic interest. He's seeing all these signs, and they're making him really uncomfortable. And he thinks something's up, and he hasn't heard anything from her. So he goes over there to try and save her. You know, like be the traditional like knight in shining armor, and he just gets had.
Yep.
It's just like,
I think he gets shot and then stabbed.
He gets, like, yeah, she stabs him. She like gets him in his own
yeah.
thing.
Yeah, she stabs him, and then Tom Hiddleston has to stab him.
There's a cut scene that I saw on Tumblr, and it breaks my heart that it didn't make in the movie. The sister says to him, stay the night. And he says, if you incest.
Oh!
And I'm like heartbroken that that's not in the movie. I found the main character a little bit flat.
Yeah. She's just kind of a vehicle for the plot.
Yeah. Compared to all the other characters like Tom Hiddleston, Tom's character, also named Tom, the only time that this actually works. I found him really interesting as a career choice for Tom Hiddleston, because he starts out as a pretty solid Tom Hiddleston, like, stereotyped role, you know, like,
English gentleman.
Like, comes into town and he's dark and secretive and, like, blah, blah, blah. And then, by the third act, you realize that he's, like, totally in his sister's pocket. Like, totally. Like, completely controlled.
Anyways, it was a really good movie. I recommend you go see it. If you're not a fan of horror movies, it's not...
It's not that scary. I mean, I found that the two worst scares were in the beginning with the first ghost. Like, that was the only kind of horrific bit for me. Specifically the second scare. That one was the harder one for me. After that, I was fine.
Because she was, like, listening to the door. I'm like, it's gonna come through the door as a ghost.
But if you don't, like, with jump scares are my thing. I can't do jump scares. So I'm just, like, sitting there, I'm like, fuck, it's gonna come. Give it to me, you know?
Yeah.
But, like, the atmosphere is great, the actors are great, the casting choice is great, it's fun to watch and beautiful to look at, and I could, like, talk about Del Toro forever.
So we're not going to. Alright, so if you've seen it, tell us what you think. Alright, and if you like our videos, subscribe down below. Bye guys.
Beware of Crimson Peak.